Hi, I'm Abby. I'm one of the instructors with the Brooklyn Kitchen, and today we're going to be making chicken and andouille sausage gumbo. I'm in my parents' kitchen in Rhode Island, so hopefully you can follow along in your kitchen and during this quarantine. What we're going to start with is we're going to start with a cup of vegetable oil and a cup of flour to make our roux as the base for our stew. But since I'm cooking alone, I'm also going to start by chopping the vegetables because the roux takes a really long time to cook and the vegetables have to be added in after. So I just want to make sure it's all prepped and ready to go by the time I start making my roux. So to make sure that my cutting board doesn't move around while I'm chopping all these vegetables, I took a little square of paper towel, wet it down, and then I'm just going to pop it underneath and then place my cutting board on it so it stays. All right, so using a pinch grip on my chef's knife, I'm going to start slicing up this pepper. And we're going to be making this a single recipe, so it's going to be 1 cup of pepper, 1 cup of celery, and 1 cup of onion. So now that I have my cup of pepper chopped up, I'm also going to chop up a cup of celery. And there should be in about like 1/4 inch little increments. You're going to make sure that you're moving your fingers away from the blade as it approaches your hand. We don't want to have to go to the hospital for any sliced fingers. All right, so now we're going to slice up our onion. So we're going to start off by slicing off this little tip, peeling off the skin. I've sliced the onion in half, starting with the root at the top, and then we're going to take the onion and just place it flat side down so it's stable on your cutting board. And then I'm going to show you a trick for dicing up onions that will hopefully save you time and also potentially a few tears. So we're going to just pierce the onion and bring our knife down. You can kind of see on the onion itself, it's giving you a little bit of a guide in the layers. You can kind of see as you're slicing. You just want to make sure your fingers are out of the way when you do this. And now what we're going to do is see how it's all sliced through. We're going to take our knife and slice it the opposite way now. Now you can see little dice. So it's quick and easy, and will hopefully you won't cry. Okay, so after you've chopped up all your vegetables, you're going to also want to chop up your pound of andouille sausage. So what I'm going to do is just slice off the end and then cut them into about 1/2 inch medallions. So just go along and cut. And you want to make them fairly even, but if they're a little thinner or a little thicker, they're going to be simmering for a while, so it's not really going to make a difference. So when you're cooking in the kitchen, it's really important to taste as you go, and so my assistants are going to be my taste testers for this. Oh, apparently it's very delicious. So now we're going to start to make our roux. That consists of a cup of vegetable oil and a cup of flour. We're going to combine these in a Dutch oven over a medium heat for about 20-25 minutes, stirring continuously until it becomes like a rich chocolate brown. So we're using this pan. It's usually best to use a heavy bottoms pan for this, but if you don't have one, it'll still turn out great. It just might take a little bit longer to reach that color. All right, so we're turning this to a medium heat. Then we're going to add in our oil. And then our flour. And just start to combine it. And it'll start to get thick. And just keep stirring it until it reaches that chocolate brown color. 20 to 25 minutes. So you can see here how it's darkened in color from when we first put the flour in, which means it's getting almost ready to put in the vegetables. So you might have noticed that we've switched to a larger pot. We're actually quadrupling this recipe so that I can give it to some neighbors, but I'll put the ingredients for a one-time recipe down at the bottom of the screen so that you can see. Now we're going to add our vegetables in to the pot with the roux, and we're going to stir it continually for about 4 or 5 minutes, just until the vegetables kind of start to wilt. So I'm just gonna keep stirring the vegetables into the roux until they start to wilt from the heat. And then we can start adding in our sausage and some spices.
Go ahead.
So since I'm 5'1", I had to get a step stool out so my arm wasn't like this the whole time. But you know, some of you taller people won't have a problem with that. So now that our vegetables have wilted, we're going to add in salt and cayenne, bay leaves, and our sausage. Once we've added all of this, we're going to keep stirring for a few minutes just to get it all combined, and then we're going to add in some water. Now we're going to add the water. For a 1 times recipe, you'd add about 6 cups of water. For this, we're going to add 4 times that, so just keep that in mind. Once all of your water is added, you're going to want to stir to combine your vegetables and your sausage and your roux and all the spices with the water, just to make sure it's all even and there's nothing really stuck to the bottom of your pot. And then you're going to want to bring it to a boil. And once it reaches a boil, you're going to put it back down to a simmer and then stir occasionally for about an hour, just to make sure that all of your flavors are combined. All right, so I've cubed up some chicken breast that we're going to add to this pot once the hour of simmering is done. So what I'm going to do is just take some of this all-purpose rub. I'll add in a recipe for you at the end, and I'm just going to sprinkle it over, just a tablespoon or so. And then I'm going to use my hands and just kind of mix it together so that all the chicken is coated, so that it can start to season the chicken before we put it in the pot with the rest of the stew. So now our gumbo has been simmering for an hour, and we're going to add the chicken that we added our seasoning to. Then give that a little stir, and then we're going to keep it simmering for 2 more hours so the chicken cooks through. So after the chicken's been stewing in your gumbo for a little bit, you want to start to skim the fat from the top. So all this clear liquid that's on the top is fat. And you want to take that off, so then the rest of the gumbo is just flavor and not oily, greasy fat. I'm going to add some filet powder, which is a thickening agent and a seasoning for gumbo, as well as some chopped up parsley. Then we're going to stir that in. So once all of your filet powder and parsley have been mixed in, you're ready to serve. You just want to make sure that you take out any bay leaves before you serve it to any guests at your home. We also like to serve it over rice, so you can have it with rice or without. And yeah, so it's ready to go. So thank you so much for watching. Be sure to follow Brooklyn Kitchen for all of your quarantine content.